Good morning, Matt.
Howdy,
Happy
Rob.
happy death of the monarchy day to you. Meghan Markle and Harry are going on the Big O to spill all this evening to tell about the monarchy.
I'm super excited about it. I'm sure the whole House of Windsor, House of Cards will finally collapse. This will be what
long last.
Not the Nazis, not the inbreeding, not the
IRA, not the car accident that killed Diana. Sorry, everybody.
I'm happy that Oprah is interviewing Meghan Markle and Prince Harry, Duke of York, in a small boat off the coast of Ireland.
That's right.
I'm sure it will all go well.
Yes. Sorry, everybody. I generally don't care about royal family drama, but I cannot ignore it. It is being forced upon me. So now you have to hear about it, and this podcast will age magnificently. Hello, everyone. This is Dungeon Master of None.
I'm Dungeon Master Matt.
And I'm Dungeon Master Rob. And that is actually all we'll be saying about
because this
monarchs.
is a mystery.
Right.
It's a mystery episode. We're keeping things close to the chest.
That's right. I actually don't know what we're talking about. That's not true, but I don't know much about what we're talking about, and it is a mystery. If you were here for our
review of Call of Cthulhu and
That's right.
discussion of H.P. Lovecraft,
we had a lot to say, and as it turns out, we have more to say. So we wanted to follow up, and Matt made a good point when we were talking about it that there's a lot to be learned from designing an investigation. There's a lot of ways that it's distinct from designing an adventure or an encounter, which I think can be very useful when it comes to running other games or designing other campaigns, whether it's D&D or elsewhere.
Absolutely. There's a lot that's distinct, and but there's a lot that's similar and overlap. And once you learn how to design an investigation, it will influence all your types of adventure writing, from creating a dungeon to just sort of an action encounter. I think it's really useful. So we'd like you to think of this episode as a nice actual prep. Follow along with us dungeon masters as we outline and sketch out an investigation horror Call of Cthulhu type adventure.
Yeah, and as I mentioned last time, Matt has run Call of Cthulhu a lot. I have played in Call of Cthulhu more than any other game that's not D&D, but I have never designed or what's the verb for, like, it's not GM, is it keepered?
Keeping.
I've
never
never
played
kept
Keeper before.
I've never kept a Call of Cthulhu game.
I've been a keeper for Crystal Palace, Tottenham, Winspur, West Ham. I've got all the keeper experience. Now, a little bit of warning: if this actual prep sounds maybe a little bit better or worse than our other ones, we're cheating a little bit. I've got an adventure that I've already run, but Rob's never played in it and heard of it, so we're just like gonna talk through it. So we are cheating a bit. Normally, in actual prep, we only start with like an idea or not even that, and this time we've got a little bit more. So if we move maybe a little bit faster through creating the adventure, that's why.
Well, we'll see how it goes. Normally, Matt and I prep a little bit. Matt has done a lot of prep, and I've done none. So hopefully it'll even out to about the same. But I'm looking forward to this. You sure I haven't played this one? You haven't run this one for me or anyone?
Maybe you have. I actually don't know. If it sounds familiar to you after we get into it, then I guess
I won't tell you or our listeners if it starts to sound familiar. I'm just I'm excited either way. And I don't know if I have played in it. I almost certainly got killed. So because that's what's happened in my last two Call of Cthulhu games. So
absolutely,
there's a lot for me to still explore.
Speaking of Call of Cthulhu, we're gonna keep it rule system neutral, so you can use whatever rule system you want. Statting things up for Call of Cthulhu stuff, I think, is fairly straightforward. There's usually a monster that fits whatever you need, or an NPC NPC stat
Somebody's
blocks.
done this work for you. There's lots of like easy stat blocks. And
there's only
to
so
pull.
many NPC stat blocks. Old man.
Old man,
surly
cultist, thug,
CEO.
Yeah.
Now, I mean, and if you're not interested in Call of Cthulhu, I think, as we said before, but want to hit this point again, is if you're just playing Dungeons & Dragons something, creating investigations is a great skill and something that you will find incredibly useful for your regular D&D games. So we hope that there is a lot to learn in this. Plus, D&D is doubling down on the dread and horror, right, with a release of a Ravenloft campaign setting coming soon.
Yeah, and we'll be talking more about Ravenloft soon. We'll have a lot to say about that, but that's a good point. Many of my favorite adventures and campaigns from the past few years in 5th edition have had an investigative component to them. I've come to the point as a player and as a DM where I just like that a lot. And I like playing investigations in D&D, but Call of Cthulhu is built for it thematically and mechanically, and there's a lot to be learned about how to create and run a good one. So I'm excited to talk about this for sure.
Okay, well, let's dive into the actual prep.
All right. So Matt, you're the expert here, so let me ask you something. Where do you start with an investigation prep? What is your like? I might imagine that you might pick a Lovecraft short story and say, how can I adapt this? Or you might pick a setting. Is that
I
how
also
you
did that?
Okay, sorry.
Okay,
I'll stop interrupting. Tell me how you did it.
No. That's a great way to. You can start with a short story or like another horror property that you enjoy. I started with, I think I wanted to create an adventure that was easy to run, easy to play in, and fairly straightforward. And the H.P. Lovecraft's short story that I feel like most captures the essence of the game is, and maybe you'll disagree with me here, is the Dunwich Horror.
I agree. I also think Dunwich Horror is one of the, maybe not like the best, but one of the like core, iconic, accessible stories. Like there's a lot that are weird and good, and there's some that are exceptional, but like, I don't know, Dunwich Horror and Shadow over Innsmouth, and of course Call of Cthulhu, and there are a few others that are, I would lump them into a meaty center canon that is accessible and very, very on brand.
And Dunwich Horror is like the only one where there's kind of a little bit of a team working together to solve things.
Good point.
So
yeah.
If you read that one, maybe it's, I think, a good inspiration. So I was coming at this where like, I want to write something out where the inspiration is really obvious. If you're new to Call of Cthulhu or something, you could read that short story and then run something, loosely inspired off of it fairly easy. And I also want to pick a setting, one that I like and one that's familiar to me, but could easily be transported somewhere else. I spent many a lovely year in the Appalachian Mountains. I lived, in Pittsburgh and thereabouts. So I wanted to set something in Rust Belt coal country in the unforgiving and ancient mountain range that is slowly being flattened by time.
Yeah, and this is not only, this is a great strategy. This is I don't know exactly how the decision making was made, but the book and the series Lovecraft Country approached their retelling of Lovecraft in the same way. It was let's do Lovecraft, but have it focus on people of color, and let's pick a creepy old town in the middle of Massachusetts and really like get to know those areas and get to know alternatively parts of Chicago. And I think this is if you're interested in retelling, or if you're interested in adapting Lovecraft, I love this approach, and I think it's got a lot of terrific potential for sure.
Yeah. And I also want to keep this adventure short. It should be playable in 3 to 4 hours, just kind of as a one-shot or a two-shot, depending on how fast you go with it. All right. Where do you want to start? I was thinking I could walk you through sort of the opening scenes, or I could give you the entire background. We talked about
give me the hook, and then we'll go to the opening. But
yeah, and
imagine that I am your player. What is my hook?
All right, and just as a reminder, right, the Chaosium Call of Cthulhu sort of has you ask the questions, right? What's the hook? What's going on, right? And, how do you solve it? So let's start with that first question, right? What's the hook? And I love true crime, maybe not podcasts, but reading and documentaries and inspired TV shows. So my hook is we start with a DB, a dead body.
Dead body.
So this is great if players want to get called in if they're working for an investigative arm of the state. So if you do want to have police or investigators as players, or crime scene investigators as players, or, they're consultants for that, or consultants for a company, consultants for local police, but a dead body has been reported.
That's a great hook. There's lots of reasons why you might get involved. Plus, you find the dead body, there's something weird about it, and you want to know, you want to investigate.
Let's make it really weird. So I was looking at my two sort of headings, right? Dunwich Horror and Appalachia. And I was like, what's better to tell a tale about Appalachia than an abandoned coal mine, right? The sign of industry and labor past. And this abandoned coal mine has a dead body in it. Someone has discovered it and then, called the player characters into it, called our investigators into it.
And Matt, I love this because this does it takes the themes and the ideas and the atmosphere of Lovecraft, and it transposes it onto Appalachia very well. Right? It's your abandoned coal mine. It's a classic feature of the Appalachian wilderness. It's also creepy and could be full of all sorts of horrible things.
Absolutely. And one of the great things about setting adventures in kind of the real world or real world adjacent is you can just look up pictures to things, right? And so like I have in front of me, I just Googled abandoned coal mine entrance, and I found a lovely picture of one that was partially bricked up, and it looks like someone's knocked it down in the recent past, and it looks creepy as hell.
This is also great because one of the neat things about Call of Cthulhu, because it is a relatively low power setting, is that the threat comes from, in all of the short stories and in the game, both mundane threats and eldritch horrors, and a mine can be easily full of both, full of pitfalls and cave-ins and pockets of gas or any number of other mundane things that will make it hard for your investigators. And then, of course, it's also dark and scary. This is when we were talking about how to build suspense and how to create an atmosphere of dread, how to scare your character, scare your players, or create a sense of suspense or fear. Setting is a big part of it. And immediately just talking about a half bricked up, empty, abandoned coal mine, just it sparks the imagination. It makes one wonder what's in there.
And let's see, I want to even add another level of spice for when the players arrive, because right, your first scene in an investigation, right, is you can say this is the hook, right, if you're letting players build characters or whatever. But when you open the game, you want some exciting things. So I lay out my opening scene, the players. I show them the picture of this abandoned coal mine entrance. It's night. It's creepy. You're up in the mountains. There's not a lot of other people around. Maybe there's a cop or a sheriff's car there. And I start with a fun NPC that has maybe discovered the DB. If I'm setting this in the modern day, I introduce Shaggy, not actual name, but maybe inspiration for the character, the Instagram mine spelunker. So I'm who discovered? And I'm just going off this question: who found this DB? Maybe someone,
an Instagram, a van life Instagram
hashtag van life.
This is terrific. This is it's a lot of fun to adapt these things and to bring in, like, don't tie yourself, if you're going to set it in the modern world, don't tie yourself to familiar things. Make sure that it is reflecting the way things are, and you can be sure that some insufferable Instagram whatever looking for their next, you know, amazing pick is going to find all sorts of weird stuff. And if anybody's going to stumble across a DB or an abandoned mine, it makes perfect sense that it would be some intrepid, insufferable van life dude.
Absolutely. If you're setting it in the 20s or 30s, this could be a group of 3 friendly hobos, right? You know, who are hiking through the mountains, living off the grid, and who are also sort of insufferable or interesting or quirky. And of course, this is a fun, you know, that players can, you know, get sort of the layout of the land, but if they want, before they go into the mine. But of course, this, you know, person is all about the likes and faves and streams.
I love the van life. This is not important, but like, I have met and known a lot of long haul hikers, and the Appalachian Trail runs through like a bunch of places. Plus, and there's a lot of like really interesting real life people and characters. So if you're looking for another hook on this, you know, an Appalachian Trail hiker, or maybe your players are hiking the trail or something like that, or there's Appalachia's a fascinating place, overlooked often in the world of you know, American culture sometimes, but there's a lot going on there, and there's a lot of like cool hooks that you can draw on to entice your players.
Yeah, absolutely. So next,
so okay,
players,
so what's
yeah.
So
yeah,
sorry,
what do you think players are? You
there's a dead body, right?
Question.
They encounter Shaggy and his van. He's probably pretty freaked out. What?
Oh yeah, it's hard to get good information out of Shaggy. Maybe he is, and this could be the first bit of foreshadowing, right?
So
now,
so
Shaggy
my question
is more unreliable than
insufferable
Instagram person should be, and that should maybe scare players, right? Just a little bit, not actually scare them, but just add a bit of foreshadowing. Why can't this person even get their story straight? I've had players when I've run this, right, get suspicious of Shaggy just because
he's being cagey, which
is
good.
He's cagey, he's mixing things up, which just sort of adds to the tension.
Right. So as a game master, my question here is: so what are the clues in this first scene outside of the mine? What can the players learn, and what do you expect them to learn? Is that a good next question?
Yep, that's a great next question. So there's basically, we can think of this as scene 1A, right? Scene 1B might be inside the mine, but outside the mine, they can talk to Shaggy, who genuinely stumbled upon this mine by looking up old maps. Shaggy has seen a dead body at the end of the mine shaft where he was taking Instagram pictures, and he saw some crazy things that he can't put together at all. The only clue there is that something weird is going on, but he's just as much of a weed smoking, likes and faves person that this might not register. The other clue is that Shaggy has some things that helped him find this mine in his van, right? He has some maps that show abandoned mines in the area that also show, what company made this mine.
Right.
There's also the other clues that they could find. There might be a person, depending on how realistic you want to play this. There might be a LEO here or some other representative of the state who could also provide this information. There's also etched into the entrance of the mine, like the name of the mine that doesn't list the company, but like some coordinates, where if players wanted to call it in, or if this is in the 20s or 30s, go look it up in the library, they can find out who owns this mine.
One evening as the sun went down and the jungle fire was burning, down the track came a hobo hiking, and he said, "Boys, I'm not turning. I'm headed for a land that's far away, beside the crystal fountains. So come with me, we'll go and see the big rock candy mountains. In the big rock candy mountains, there's a..."
Got it. which I assume will become relevant later.
Yes.
Okay, so
there really aren't that many clues here, right? But
sorry, I this is maybe you already said this. Is the dead body is not outside; it is in the mine,
it's
right?
inside the mine, which is scary, right? This is how I sort of try and build tension, right? My twist on this is I put the dead body somewhere scary, which is in an abandoned mine, probably in the middle of night, right? That players are going to have to make sure they have their flashlights loaded up and things like that to go actually explore. So, crawling through the mine could be a place where you have the players make a check to like avoid hitting their head or something like that. I usually avoid this. I just sort of say it's cramped and bad and stuff. And then we get to scene 1B, right? Which is at the end of a mine shaft, described exactly where Shaggy said it was going to be, is a dead body just sort of lying in a weird funerary pose, like hands on chest, like legs crossed. And there's some very unusual things in this mine shaft.
Oh, that's good. So, this is I want to give my perspective here. So, like from a troubleshooting perspective, my suspicion, well, okay, the groups I play with would get stuck, overthinking and over preparing for this eventuality, because as you've described, you really just need to talk to Shaggy, maybe the LEO, the sheriff, and then go inside and find the body. Finding the body is really the important thing. Everything else is just. But again, if I am a suspicious, perhaps over-prepared player,
and you should be,
I am certain that the getting into the mine and going there is going to eat up a lot of time. So. Nothing needs to change here. My piece of advice is, if you were going to do this or run this, is to provide some sort of push or inciting action to get them moving if they get stuck. Maybe the LEO says, just get in there, or maybe Shaggy says, aren't you going to go look, man? Aren't you going to go see what's in there?
Yeah, exactly. That's very much how I run Shaggy, for sure. I think the actual name I have in my notes is Ryan, but whatever, right? And yes, I think
there's a dead body,
players. Man, the facts I forefront to my players is that this loser has already been down there and survived, right, and that the cowardly LEOs are like, this is why you're here, to go. We're not qualified to go into this sealed off mine shaft, but for whatever reason, you as consultants or our superiors, you need to go down there for us. Also, there's actually nothing they really need to prepare for other than having a light source.
Right. One thing that you might, if you wanted to work ahead with your players or make it easy for them, like one of them has spelunking or caving experience, right? So that's why they've been called in.
Absolutely.
The sheriff's claustrophobic, and so he needs somebody to so just anybody who's willing to go into a cave and take a look for you.
And usually one overwhelming NPC is enough, but the sheriff can definitely be a West Virginia type Marge Gunderson, which is how I played it before. But anyway, so what's at the bottom of the mine is a dead body. This is immediately like what the players see. There are some weird carvings on the ceiling joists or beams. There are a bunch of strange objects or jars along the wall. There's a dead body in a strange state of desiccation. And then there's basically a pile of clothes, trash, and bags to one side. So there's like a lot of clues that the players could investigate, and it's all dark and spooky, so it can be a little difficult to do.
So here's a question. So for our listeners, Matt, do we want to, since we're going through this, designing this investigation or talking through the design, do we want to pull back the curtain here, or do we want to keep it secret? Do you want to tell me what's meant to be portrayed, what's being hinted at here, what the clues are, or do you want to keep it semi-secret?
Let's keep it semi-secret.
All right, so tell me what we're seeing and what the clues are, where they might lead next, but don't tell me what's actually happening, and we'll pull that back later.
Clue number one is that the dead body looks like it has been had a bunch of chemicals injected into it. It looks preserved.
Embalmed, perhaps?
Embalmed, in fact, right? And there's some like weird objects on the dead body. And the dead body can be a young person of, whatever gender you would prefer to have for this opening scene. The dead body has a strange flint obsidian forked knife stuck in its mouth. Not violently, but just as a funerary rite, and a large rock-shaped or scarab-shaped rock sitting on its breastbone. The dead body also shows signs of some trauma and perhaps even drug injections, so some needle marks on its arm. So that's clue number one. That then players, this is what I would like give them in maybe a more set description that they could then investigate and get closer to further.
Okay. And what else is in down here with the body? You said there were some jars, some
players will find there are, in fact, and I love, having something that even the like least educated about like mythology or like scary thing players can identify and feel cool. There are some canoptic jars, right, which you and me and probably all of our listeners know exactly what they are. But right, your average player, probably also knows, right? So there are some crudely made, looks like made at home canoptic jars, which are in fact filled with various organs sitting along the wall. And then the pile of detritus along the wall are the DB's possessions. Sort of just like left there after this body was prepared for burial.
Okay, yeah, that's
so. What would, if you were an investigator? Let's say you investigate all three of these things, and then I like to sort of have what happens if you look closer, right? Or this could be depending on your system. Just say I'm looking closer, or succeed on a check.
So I'll look closer. One of the investigators, presumably they have medical experience. This is Call of Cthulhu. Somebody's going to be a doctor adjacent.
Right.
Always got to have
make a medicine check.
Right.
That tells you this person was drugged, possibly on a huge cocktail of things. Pick your favorites. And the body is also full of chemicals, like it's been embalmed.
So if I were an investigator here, I guess I would also investigate the surroundings. And so what's the final, or what's the next clue that you would expect your investigators to find?
Right. If you investigated the surroundings, you'd find that this is basically the only open part of the mine shaft. There's no reason for players to go poking around or spend hours exploring this mine. We don't want that. If they turn off their flashlights, right, they automatically find that someone has painted a star map on the top of the mine shaft. If they make a really high, I'm looking at the ceiling check or something like that, then they can also find said star map, right? And a good astronomy skill or science skill will tell them that this is a version of the night sky above, right? Which is a very strange thing to do. If players investigate the dead body, they might want to investigate the items stuck on the dead body. And here's our first opportunity for like a jump scare.
And this is, I assume the next step is pulling the knife out of the mouth. Yes,
right. If someone
classic thing you shouldn't do, but everybody will do anyway.
Absolutely. I've run this 5 times. Every time someone has pulled the knife out of the mouth, and the knife has like some Egyptian name that I have written down in my notes somewhere because it's something from. I got my copy of the Book of the Dead out for this one. And
classic, as one does.
Yeah, it's a forked obsidian knife. You pull it out, and some hissing gas comes out of the body. This is perhaps just a natural consequence of the embalming. Players might breathe in some strange gases for a point of damage. You might have them make some sort of reaction throw, constitution, or a similar stat. And if they breathe in too deeply, right, they might have a bit of reaction to this and just sort of panic around. If you're using some sort of fight, flight, or freeze mechanic, right, they might try and pull back or stand up too quickly, hit their head. It's just a bit of scariness. They might expect this to be filled with spells or poison, or it's not. But after that, there's really nothing else to investigate with the dead body, other than that's your first chance for a jump scare, right? They move something and all of a sudden they're attacked by breathing in these gases.
Anything else that they learn?
Yeah, so there's three other spots for clues. There's some strange etchings on the wall, the canoptic jars, and the pile of personal belongings.
Oh, right. The personal belongings. Sorry, I've gone in and forgotten all the things that you described me.
That's okay. Yeah. Well, see, this is one of the great things about running an investigation, right? Is you need to sort of recap many times for your players when you're at a scene where there's lots of clues. Where are the main areas, that they can look, right?
Okay, so what's in the personal belongings? So
personal belongings.
I'll
have
tell
you a ton of clues.
So as we're going through this, everything so far is interesting. My thinking as a designer and as a player is that it's not clear to me what to do next. But let's find out what's in the personal belongings.
Exactly. I'm going with the assumption that if you find a dead body, you need to identify the dead body, right? Is the sort of first thing. And players can obviously if it's in the modern area, identify the dead body through dental records. But I made things as easy as possible in that the personal belongings are an identification that identifies this person, and again, use the gender that you want. As a student of Appalachian Bible College, there is a student ID with their name and address. There is in a upturned bag, it could be a backpack or a purse. There's a bunch of notebook paper, a couple textbooks related to studying the Bible, world religions, and Egyptology, interestingly enough, and a ripped up flyer that looks handmade, run off on a Xerox machine that mentions a church service. And I usually make this actual flyer and then rip it and hand it to the players. But there's no name or address given on the church. It just sort of says revival meeting, right? Wednesday, Thursday,
Love a
Sunday
good
nights,
revival meeting. This is a classic of the rural Southern horror genre. An unknown revival meeting. Yeah, this is great.
Exactly. So now let's test how we're doing on the investigation so far. Do you have enough clues?
I do.
Try and investigate.
So let's
what
summarize
you could go
from a big picture. Let's summarize what we found. Let's again, if we were designing this, what's the big package of clues that we have been presented with? And then I will tell you what makes sense to me, both as a player and as a designer, like what happens next. So we've uncovered a dead body. It has been embalmed. That's weird, whether it's the 1920s or the modern day. Depending on how smart I am or how much I know about medicine, my investigator, I might know some about the chemicals, but regardless, it is weird for somebody to be embalmed. There is a strange obsidian knife. That's weird and unusual. Not a normal thing that you would find. You're playing a Call of Cthulhu game, so you expect ritual weirdness, but already ritual weirdness. The person is young. You find out they're a student, and then they belong to a college. They're looking into things. There's a Bible study, and then there's a star map. Also weird, unclear how it's connected, but relevant. So the next step is obviously depends on how procedural your players are. They might go directly to like the morgue and be like, let's identify this body with dental records and DNA. Or if they're me, they might say, let's go to the Bible college right now. But both are valid next steps.
So I think there's three basic clues here. One, that we've had a strange murder involving Egyptology.
Mm-hmm.
This is strange, and I've occasionally had
the thing that I glossed over is that this is a murder. This is clearly not a.
This is clearly a murder,
natural death. And this isn't. Shaggy said, "Oh, there's a dead body," but the murder aspect is important.
Yeah, And I've had players occasionally call, like, like where they've used game systems where it's like, I have a contact, right? Call a contact, like professor of Egyptology, and that's absolutely fine. They can learn some stuff there. But normally players will either, right, 1 time out of 5, investigate who owns these mines, but 4 times out of 5, and even in the other 1 time, there was an overwhelming chorus of voices among the investigators. Let's go to the Bible College. We have this person's ID. We can track them down. And let's go there. So that's where players end up most of the time. And that's fine. I want this to be a like mostly simple linear investigation. However, when the players are like, we're interested in owning the mines, that is a valid path to take too.
Life is all there, older than the trees, younger than the mountains, blowing like the breeze. Country roads, take me home to the place I belong. West Virginia, Mountain Mama, take me home.
Yeah. So that's what makes sense to me. I imagine that most of the time, again, players want to find out what happened. And the clear next step to finding out what happened is going to the Bible College and finding out who this student was and maybe trying to find this revival or something like that. So let's just assume the next scene is the Bible College.
Yes. The players head to ABC, Appalachia Bible College, which is a real college. Please don't sue me, Appalachia Bible College. But it is. They head to ABC. It's a very weird, small Bible college.
If you want to like do something with
Appalachia.
this and not get sued, you can call it Miskatonic Bible College or something like that,
Sure,
or Arkham
sure.
Bible College or something,
Yeah.
or make up another like vaguely, a real sounding name, which is exactly what Lovecraft did. Just pick a county. Call it Carlin County Bible College or something like that, and voila, no, you don't have to worry about Appalachian Bible College getting mad at you.
However, I will recommend, just in general for these investigations, if you pick something in the real world, if players are like, what does this college look like? How many buildings there are? You're a Google search away from Appalachia Bible College map, right? And you can be like, there are
which
2
is very valid
dormitories.
and useful for modern day games for sure.
Right. And even other games. And so if players investigate the college at all, I would say they only do this 30 or 40% of the time. They will find that it was founded whatever time that Egyptology got really, really big, in the 1890s.
Right. Turn
as
of the 20th century, 1890s, 1900s, 10s. Yeah.
Exactly.
I think they found Tutankhamun's tomb in the teens or 20s, and that was like the height of it. Yeah.
And it's an artillery
Can
of
we talk
heaven
for a second about
style
how dumb as shit
Protestant
Egyptology
missionary.
is? They were just like, well, studying African history, that's not a career for a gentleman adventurer of Britain. No, we're Egyptologists. We're adventurers and tomb raiders. Fucking dumb khaki wearing nerds. Fuck off. Sorry. Anyway,
Yeah.
whatever we were talking about.
They deserve to be cursed, I guess.
They deserve the
right?
curse. It's good that Tutankhamun made them all die. We love to see it.
Yeah, and they will find that this is like an artillery of heaven style Protestant missionary college that focused on sending missionaries back in the day or during the present time, depending on whenever you're studying this, to the Levant, Egypt, Palestine, Syria, etc. So, obviously we're not trying to hide anything here, right? Basically, on an intro investigation, every basically clue that players try to look at, if successful, should give them some information that's going to point them where to look. Appalachia Bible College also has a lot of donors, they will find.
Oh, and this is a good point to dwell on, because we've talked about how everything that is obvious to you as a designer and like creating your mystery is not going to be obvious to your players. So there should be some things that it is almost like all they have to do is ask to find. And there should be some things that do require like investigation and some curiosity and digging, but feel free to have lots of stuff that's like not hidden. There's no secrets here. You just have to sort of like look for it. And truthfully, that's how a lot of real life is. There's plenty of stuff that's just right out there in the open. You just have to want to look and know where to look. And then there's a lot of things that are very well hidden. So have both when you are designing your investigation.
Yeah. If they look up, and again, you will only have this happen 30% of the time. So if you want to make sure this does happen, put some clues when the players arrive at the college, like, for example, names of buildings or stuff like that. But if they look up who founded the college, they will find it's founded by a guy named Charles Pullman, who was a famous early missionary to Egypt. And if they look up the history of the college and who's endowed everything and, for example, monies, they will find that it's the cousin of Robert Pullman, one Charles Pullman, CEO of the Monongahela Coal Company. If it's set in the present day, it's a company called like Monco or something. You come up with a new name, and it's actually, they don't actually do coal anymore. They're involved in something more abstract.
Sure. So I should have asked this at the beginning, but what's the dramatis personae of the college, right? So they're there. Somebody, I mean, it's a small Bible college. I don't know if you've ever been on one. Nobody's probably going to stop you, but
no one stops you.
But if they do too much asking, and or maybe they want to talk to somebody who's there. Is there like a librarian? Is there, maybe they even speak to the provost if it's not that big of a college?
They can speak to the dean if they want.
Yeah.
And Dean Ostrich will talk to them. And whenever they arrive, just to keep things simple, it's break, right? There's very few people there.
No students
right?
there.
Spring, winter, summer break, whatever time you said.
There's enough employees on campus that they can gain access to the library or whatever, but they don't have to deal with any like complications.
Here are the dramatis personae: is that the players can talk to dean, provost, whoever they ask for. I make it the same character. I just changed the title about this student and their records. They can talk to this student's roommate, and the clues in both should lead them, and a sort of map I give them, to the Egyptology wing of the school, right?
Which is terrific. I mean, it should be immediately interesting and alarming to your players that Appalachian Bible College has an Egyptology wing.
Right. I say, when they say we pull up to the college, I say, okay, there are 5 buildings. There's the boys' dormitory, the girls' dormitory, the student center and cafeteria and administration building all in one. The academic building, the oldest building on campus, according to the map. Would you like to go see it? And of course, the newly added Egyptology department, which has its own building, is also the largest building on campus.
Yeah.
And then they'll go, what?
So, all right. So this would be, let's see, this is like 2B.
This is scene 2, really, right? And whoever they want to talk to, they're going to get all the information they need, right? If they talk to the dean, if they talk to the roommate, I mean, it's a little bit of a false choice here, but the reason I'm okay with it is they really both have most of the same information, right? Person X are DB. They can be Elizabeth or James, right? It doesn't matter. Decides, whichever like you're more comfortable with having brutally murdered in your campaign, keeping in mind like gender dynamics and gendered violence and whatever, right? This is a horror investigation, right? The roommate will tell them that this person was a loner. They'll find out that, this person was an orphan and ward of the state. They got a Pullman scholarship to attend the college. They're only a freshman. They can easily get their transcripts. They're taking all the core classes plus Egyptology 101 with esteemed Professor Jan Osman. Yeah, and they're a bit of a loner, and just on the last break before this, they in fact took an alternative break trip with Osman to Egypt.
So again, and this makes, you never know what your investigators are going to do, but to me makes perfect sense that the next step is to go talk to Osman himself.
Yes. And then I would say that if they talk to the roommate or go to their room at all, which if the players have any convincing check ability or any natural authority given to them, the dean will gladly unlock this person's room. Or if they talk to the roommate will let them in, and they can find a full flyer for whatever church this person was going to, and they can get the second part of the flyer, because I like to physically hand my players the flyer, and they're like, we got to find the missing part of this flyer. And of course they can find the missing part of the flyer here. Why not just give them the full flyer when they pick up the dead body? Well, one, for an intro adventure, this makes it easy to control a linear narrative so that players can't immediately go to a church, right? But two, it just builds tension, right? It makes them curious about it. And the flyer says, Church of Heavenly Wisdom of Jesus Christ, the Returner. And, it has a bunch of things about, their services. It lists a pastor, and it gives a town in West Virginia where the church is located. So this person has tons of Egyptology stuff in their room,
right,
et cetera, et cetera. They even have papers written for Dr. Jan Osman. If players are not curious about the Egyptology department at this point, given an Egyptian murder and that there's the largest, this is like my one logical leap here, but see how easy it is because there's a clue at every turn for Egyptology.
Right. So the next step is fairly clear, though I guess they have technically two very important like hooks here to investigate, but the next step, since it's right here, seems to be to go to the Egyptology department.
And I have had players go to the Egyptology department and then talk themselves out of going into it through leaps of logic that I could not predict, and immediately go to this church, right?
Which I can,
despite the fact this was an Egypt murdered body.
Right.
But see, that's still okay.
Right.
Going to the Egyptology department, they're going to learn a little bit about our villain.
So let's do the Egyptology department, but bear in mind that this doesn't necessarily have to be the next step. But like, what's there and what do they find?
So it's a big department building. They find that Dr. Jan Osman is the chair, and that the ground floor, which is the only part that I actually have mapped out, there's a huge lecture hall that is Dr. Jan Osman's personal lecture hall. His office and laboratory are next door, and that players basically are going to have to kind of either sneak in, lie their way in, or break into this part, right? This is where players are going to have to break the rules.
Right. And this is a Call of Cthulhu game, so I would expect some breaking and entering. So they break and enter. What do they find?
They break and enter. They find this is the nicest part of the college. It is beautiful. Whatever time period it's set in, it's obviously nicer than the rest of the college. And in Jan Osman's office and laboratory, which have like their own private entrance to the lecture hall, right? We always used to see in the old videos where like professors just like walk out of their office into a lecture hall or something like that. I always kind of like loved that idea.
Mm-hmm.
Like, wow, academia used to be really nice back in the day when we were funding it to, I don't know.
Once upon a time, yeah,
something.
When it used to be something that
when there were
gave money to.
Billions of dollars flowing from the American deep state to academia. So we
once
destroy
upon a time,
basically.
you still got that. You just have to call yourself the visiting professor for innovation in
Raytheon studies. So the office is super creepy, and so is the laboratory. There's all sorts of Egyptian artifacts. If you're like, I want to collect a bunch of cool pictures of Egypt stuff, then you can find it. There's a bunch of references to the original Egyptian copy of the Necronomicon if they want to go through the notes. And you find out that this person, if they research Jan Osman on their own outside, you find that he was actually disgraced for suggesting a bunch of debunked theories, ancient aliens and stuff like that. Kicked out. He had a nervous breakdown, but then he was mysteriously hired at like full tenure, given his own department by Appalachian Bible College, Who knew? Sort of weird, right?
Right.
Apparently, it's all funded by this guy, Robert Pullman, who is a big business magnate, right? Anyway, sorry.
No, it's just I'm just realizing. I mean, this is great. This is I think this is a very we got a lot more adventure to go through. I didn't realize.
Oh, that's okay. We'll pick up the pace.
Let's pick up the pace.
Here's the thing with running adventure games, right? Is you may find yourself like players really like taking their time, especially for the first couple.
And
things.
I'm glad we're talking through this, but like it reminds me that this is advice that we've given before, but you have to have more clues than your players need.
Absolutely.
And so like everything that Matt's describing is awesome, but may not
They're
ever...
only going to experience 50% of this, right?
Because
your
players
they're not going to ask
going
or look
to encounter
or
all of this.
Or I'm going to tell them about it in 10 seconds and they're going to ignore me. Right.
Right. And it won't matter at all.
So they're not going to, I'm going to be like, they're like, who is this guy funded by? I'm like, it's a guy, you look up, it's Robert Pullman. Apparently he's a business executive in New York City. And they're like, cool. Wait, what's that thing on the table over there?
Yeah.
Right. And so there's all sorts of scary things and a Pepe Sylvia style, like yarn drawing, connecting things. And here's where I give players their first physical clue. And I do this by printing off with numbered lines the hymn to Aten, which is a historical hymn. Psalm 109 is very similar to this hymn. It's like this is from Egypt's what do you call it when you have one god? Monotheistic period. So it's very interesting. There's a little code I give them with some other symbols where it looks like Jan Osman is trying to find a set of numbers for this numbered hymn. And I have a couple hot lines highlighted. So this is like a physical clue investigation that they can actually do by working out. And if you have players who are like, this is too abstract for me, I want to like do like a children's kind of puzzle here, but one that is very easy, or they don't actually have to do this, right? They can just roll a check. Like I roll my intelligence or wisdom score to figure out what he's looking at. And then I'll give him the same thing, which is a hymn within the hymn. And then I will hand them a handout where I have recut the lines of the hymn to Aten, which is very similar to Psalm 109. That sounds super fucking creepy. And if you're looking at the document I've shared with you, Rob, I have recut the hymn to Aten to basically sound like something from ancient Cthulhu times.
This is great stuff. If you're a big nerd,
the land
like
is in
are,
darkness, in the manner of death. All creeping things they sting. They sleep in a room with heads wrapped up. Their tongues are separate in speech. Darkness is a shroud, and the earth is in stillness.
It's great stuff.
It sounds super creepy.
Yeah. Old Egyptian hymns and spells are great for this stuff. You cannot go wrong. So all right. So the players discover a modified hymn of Aten. And what's their next step? I'm assuming
what's their next step is whatever happens here. If the players get into this at all, is Dr. Jan Osman, the Egyptologist who is teaching our student who was murdered, is an insane cultist.
Right.
So
which I would expect,
they arrive,
again, unless your players are complete, naifs, which they might be, and in which case you might want to give them some help, they're probably already thinking this. They're probably already suspect something weird and bad is going on here and potentially magical or evil. And this, I assume, just confirms their suspicions.
Yes. They can. They're also, I usually put even more clues in here.
Also,
right?
from a true crime perspective, a cop perspective, we are investigating a murder, and we already know that the murdered student was taking classes with this person. We know that the murder weapon ? Is an Egyptian artifact. So like, you don't have to be Columbo to like realize that this
just one
more question.
Sanity roll.
It's pretty obvious that this guy is our number one suspect, both from a storytelling perspective and a evidence perspective.
The other clues that the players will find here is flyers for an Egyptology exhibit at the Carnegie Museum of Natural History in nearby Pittsburgh. They will also find more flyers hidden in a stack of notes, if they look right, for this Church of Heavenly Wisdom of Jesus Christ in nearby West Virginia. And they will also find basically a bunch of like scary looking pictures that I found on the internet of drawings of what if Thoth looked like an evil demon, or what if Anubis looked even scarier, right? And so sometimes I flash these at players if they're like, I'm okay with having a jump scare. Whenever they investigate this office or break into the video, whenever you feel like it's an appropriate time to heighten the tension, Jan Osman, who is a weak old man, enters and tries to stab them with a knife, screaming "EIA."
Presumably they are not defeated by the weak old man with a knife.
Exactly. Things have to go so horribly wrong for them to lose the game right here, right? Because it's one weak old man. Usually, like, one of them has a gun because one player's always like, I want a fucking gun. And they're not wrong to want one.
They're not wrong to want a gun.
Whatever they do, either killing or subduing Jan Osman, they have enough clues to either investigate this coal company or the Church of Jesus Christ of Starry Wisdom. If they take Jan Osman alive, he is clearly a cultist of the beyond, if they're familiar with like the mythos universe, but he refers to a mysterious him, right, who is controlling him, who lives up in the mountains, who told him to do these things, who showed him the true meaning of all of his work, etc., etc. Players are immediately going to be curious about who the real villain is, right, who this him is controlling him. Or players might decide that this guy committed the murder, though there's no evidence of that, right? This guy, if they want to investigate further, has alibis. He doesn't own a car, right? Et cetera, et cetera. And he keeps going all about him who's shown him the way, who's lifted the veil, and his abode, his starry abode in the mountains.
Which is great because a good investigation always has one false positive, right? Like I just mentioned that he's prime suspect, but as soon as you meet him, you realize, well, hang on, he can't have done this by himself, or he's not in sound mind, like something else is going on here, right? He's working with others. And again, your players could, it would be really funny if they were like, let's just railroad this guy and call it good. Like this is the end of the investigation. That would be
so great.
Let's get a collar on this old man and just like,
let's go. Case closed.
Job well done. Time for beers, fellas. But assuming they actually want to find out what happens, I would say, so again, from my perspective, there are now 3 places to go. There's a church with a revival. There's there's a corporation to investigate, and there's a museum exhibit. All 3 of these have physical locations or something, a next step to go to. So what happens next, ideally?
So let's go through them in, I think, order of importance, right? The corporation to visit is in New York City. This is the one location and clue that I've given them that is not within a couple hours drive.
Right.
So players can call in favors or look up things about this corporation, but they're discouraged from actually going.
And they probably won't, but they may. That may be their first investigation, but they probably won't go there. But they might.
If they want to go to New York City, that can be fun too. It's just not something I've super prepared out, but I'm ready to wing it, right? This corporation is diversified from coal. However, for some reason, they own like hundreds of coal mines that are abandoned in Appalachia. The players, through good investigation, can actually get a map to them. They're connected to this Pullman family, who's, modern day or back in the day. It's either the descendants in modern day or the actual people back in the day. It's the same family.
Yeah.
And so that's what they can find out. And the charitable giving, the family gives a lot to museums, for example. And if what type of museums? Egyptology. So that's clue 1. Where do you want to go next?
Well, okay. So this is the part where I reveal that you did run this for me.
Okay. Oh, I did. Really?
You did.
Okay, cool.
And I'm going to tell you that what we did next was we went to the museum. However, I will also reveal when we talk about what happened there that was a mistake. So I think that the actual, both in like proximity and logical next step, is to investigate the revival.
Yes. You're my only group who went straight to the museum, right? And I believe you messed up the adventure there through just bad in the moment tactics.
It was bad luck and bad tactics, but also I think it was the wrong investigative decision.
Right.
So, well, I'll tell our listeners what happened once we get there. But let's go to the revival and then discuss
Let's go to the revival. It's in a broken, like coal mining town with hardly anyone. It's a one-horse town. It is actually nearby is the headquarters of our real villain, but there's no reason the players will know that yet. It has a pastor who is a snake handler. Like, add all your Apis iconography that you want to hint at. Pick your favorite Bible verses that talk about the stars in the sky, etc., etc. I think you know how to do this, right? You mix a little bit of Appalachian Christianity with mythos type stuff. There's snake handlers here, and this is where the villain has recruited his henchman militia force. Hill people with guns.
Right. Gotta have mundane enemies and militia members. They're a classic.
So if any figures of authority show up, they can definitely attend a church service. You can throw out some creepy verses at them. And basically after the church service, if there's any outsiders there, a bunch of people will either get in some Model Ts or some pickup trucks and drive away in a hurry. You can see they are all heavily armed. Sometimes a firefight will break out for usually no reason. Players find like a bunch of hill people with guns, and they're like, we better shoot them.
So
I don't know, man.
So all right, so that they get to the revival, their things are starting to come together.
If
the veil is falling away.
Yes, if they talk to anyone in the militia or just the pastor or any of the churchgoers, they will identify that a prophet attends the church. His name is Wilbur Whiteley, and he lives nearby. Players, I think, should be interested in this prophet immediately. He matches the description of what Jan Osman was talking about. So they've got some new clues.
So they go. Well, let's say they go and visit.
Sorry, the other clue is that all the militia members and the member of the church all have flyers with maps about the museum exhibit in Pittsburgh.
So let's just say they go to Wilbur Whiteley first. Again, at any point, like we did, you could just go right to the museum. But what happens?
There is no right answer here.
Let's say they talk to Wilbur Whiteley. What do they find?
They talk to Wilbur Whiteley. They find he is not there. Whenever they show up, that Wilbur Whiteley is either in the woods organizing his militia people, preparing to raid the Museum of Pittsburgh, which, if players decide to look up, has a copy of ancient funerary texts, including a full copy of the Necronomicon, which is not mentioned, but is on display in the wing. You can use the the name of the mad Arab, Aziz whatever.
Abzared.
If they show up at the so there's two other locations here. There's the Whiteley Farm and the museum, right? If they show up at the Whiteley Farm, there is an insane sister holding holding the dilapidated farmhouse as a fortress. Any people who are spotted approaching, she will fire up on them with a ancient flintlock musket, which takes 1 minute to reload. It could wound someone. It is very unlikely to do anything but scare player characters. And then here's where things get really deadly. In the barn house is Whiteley's brother, who is a child of Yog-Sothoth. He is content to stay in the barn house. He gets fed very often by cows. There's a bunch of dead cows that look like they've been cut in half. Littered around the yard, and a bunch of other sickly emancipated things. As a child of Yog-Sothoth, Whiteley's brother is mostly invisible, except to people attuned to the psychic plane. players might get scared, they can talk to Lavinia and say that there's weird things in the barn. They can easily win this encounter by burning the barn down. You know how, Rob, your players are just like, why don't we solve this problem with fire?
Sometimes you want them to write them.
Yeah, absolutely. If they want to like shoot an AK-47 into the barn and kill whatever is making those weird noises, that will solve this encounter, or by burning the barn down.
Yeah.
Whiteley's plan is the same as the Dunwich Horror. He is taking a militia that will raid the Egyptology Museum of Natural History in Pittsburgh, recover the full Necronomicon, which, after his rituals, which have basically given sacrifices in a geomantic pattern through abandoned coal mines all through Appalachia, see the maps in, let's see, where could they get the maps? They could get the maps from the company. They could get the maps from Shaggy. They could get the maps from Dr. Jan Osman. And the Whiteley House also has the maps. That basically, if the players don't know where the Whiteley farmhouse is through investigating the militia, they can easily be like, oh, they're in a ring around this point right here in the mountains. And that point is the Whiteley farm. If the players decide to go to the museum, if they figure out that someone is trying to steal the Necronomicon from the museum, they can do a couple of things. They can just call the cops, and if they can convince someone in Pittsburgh that someone's going to try and steal the museum, Wilbur Whiteley's plan will fail. He's got a bunch of insane cultists, and he knows one spell.
So
he's not going to take out a SWAT team.
Let me tell you what happened when we did this. So listeners, this is great troubleshooting, and also like
yes.
Matt has sort of like wrapped up the final bit, and there's a couple of different ways that this can go. But what we did was, I think this is probably my idea too, because I was excited about the museum, but we went right to the museum where we encountered, again, having not done the investigation, we did not know what was happening, but we encountered Whiteley and the militia members in the middle of the robbery. We did not call the cops. We did not ask for help. And then I believe we like announced ourselves instead of just like ambushing them.
Yeah.
My investigator was immediately shot.
I had it set up. If you wanted to ambush them, you would have almost certainly succeeded.
I don't
but
remember.
Instead you're like, we know you're here, Whiteley, come out.
I don't remember
like,
exactly what the plan was or why we did that. I think I was in character. I don't even remember what my investigator was, but he was kind of a dumbass.
I think you were playing dumbass cop.
I think I was playing a dumbass cop. Anyway, I got immediately shot. I rolled really badly, and then there are two other investigators. One of them, Whiteley, used his one spell, which was like immobilize or something like that, or like stun or something.
I forget. It has some fancy name. I forget actually which version of the rules I was using last time I ran it. It's one of those spells that's like freeze your mind with the icy tendrils of Yog-Sothoth.
So, and then the other investigator failed and was immediately like incapacitated, and then the third investigator, I think, just also got shot. And so as I am describing this, I'm sure that you can hear the many places where we went wrong. But this is useful, like, I think, information and troubleshooting as you are thinking about how you design your... Matt did not do anything wrong. This is just something that happens sometimes. And this is when I was emphasizing how Call of Cthulhu can be a very deadly...
It can just go wrong so easily.
And it was fun. By the way, it was a ton of fun. One of us got fed to the Whiteley sibling, the child of Yog-Sothoth. And that's sometimes how Call of Cthulhu goes. Sometimes you all die or go mad or get fed to eldritch horrors from beyond the stars. But I think this is like a great... this was good to talk through because as we have mentioned when we talked about Dragon Heist and we've talked about investigations, what is obvious or what seems obvious is not always so. And so what Matt has done is an overabundance of clues so that pretty much whatever your players do, they will find the key piece of information. They will end up at the Whiteley, homestead and discover the key bits. They can just thwart the plan a number of like very obvious ways, safe ways.
And the funny thing about your experience, Rob, is that was the fifth and final time I've run this adventure. It actually went the worst of all of the times for some reason.
We were also 4 times I've run it. Two entirely uninitiated Call of Cthulhu players.
That's true, which is a great way to initiate them to it.
I was having fun not like metagaming or optimizing. However, me having fun, like being in character, and the two of them not knowing what to do meant that we made some bad decisions.
And it's absolutely fine. The 4 of the other 5 times I've run this, players have called the cops and either gone in, put on their flak jackets and with a pistol gone in with the SWAT team and easily destroyed Whiteley and his like 3%er militia people. Also make the militia people like weird white nationalists.
Oh yeah, of course.
Why not? Because it makes it fun to like kill them, and then find out that Whiteley is just like the story, like half man, half goat, like with a bunch of weird tentacles. Players might ask about him around. And if the players stop him from killing the Necronomicon, they basically are stealing the Necronomicon. They've solved the adventure, right? Eventually, Whiteley's brother, the giant monstrosity in the barn, will break out and wander the hills of Appalachia for generations, becoming like a ghost story, but nothing bad is going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
So to get back to our original questions, we had a good hook. Rob talked about how we have lots of clues connecting everything. Now we can go back and answer what is actually going on here, right? Wilbur Whiteley is the cousin of the Pullmans, the rich side of the family, who basically support his cult activities through generous donor grants. If the players, and they've never done this, but they will find it out if they search the Whiteley, they'll find an ancient family tree drawing, right? But if they search the Pullmans, they will find they have another branch, the Whiteleys, of their same family. What's going on here? Wilbur Whiteley has basically recruited his cult, which is his extended family, to basically in a long-term scheme, right, to get a ritual that will use his twin brother, who is a child of Yog-Sothoth, to summon an aspect of their father or mother, I forget, for Yog-Sothoth, through a gate, through necromantic sacrifice, and a spell that is only located in a Necronomicon, using the massive wealth of the Pullman Empire to fund Egyptology research digs and provide victims, who Dr. Jan Osman has been providing through, his students, right? Players, sorry, one thing I forgot to mention, players can find other victims have gone missing from Appalachia Bible College. If they ever go to the map and go to the other mines, they can find just within the entrance of the mines, a few feet in, more dead bodies, exact same thing, et cetera, et cetera. And that's what's really going on here, is Wilbur Whiteley is summoning his father, Yog-Sothoth, just like in the Dunwich horror, through sacrifice and Egypt spell shit. That's it.
And what's great about this is, and this is how we try to design all of our one-shots, is that it's perfectly contained. Not every thread is wrapped up, but presuming you don't all get killed, the mystery is resolved. If you want to do more, right? If you want to proceed in the investigation and unpack more of this cult or connection,
or that a Fortune 500 company is owned by insane cultists.
Precisely. Again, that's not something that has to be resolved right now, but that is a great next step if your players want to continue the investigation. So this was great. I hope this was
final thoughts.
I mean,
have lots of handouts for players.
Lots of handouts.
If people ask me, and if they really think this is a fun, hopefully it was useful as an actual prep. But if they're like, I want a copy of this adventure, and they ask me, I will take the time to type it up.
You should. I really enjoyed playing it. It was memorable.
At the Monongahelas of Madness.
It was a lot of fun. And I really enjoyed this because we wiped. That was very fun for me as a player and instructive as a DM and a GM. And I hope this was useful to people.
That reminds me, Rob. So your group, of the 5 times I play tested, ran this, is the only one who's wiped. However, I did kill another player character, and I gotta say, this was a moral failing on my part. I let my guard down. I think I let myself be influenced by wanting to kill this player character because the player was so annoying. I was running this at a con, and a bunch of cool kids showed up, and they're like, oh, we've never played Call of Cthulhu before. I'm really excited about it. And one guy showed up at the con game wearing a black cowboy, flat-brimmed hat carrying a cane with a skull on top of it. And I was like, I've made some pre-made characters, right? The setup is your investigators working for the West Virginia State Police. And he's like, well, I would like to do my own character who is a master of the occult arts. I'm like, that doesn't really fit my thing. This was years ago. Maybe I was a less confident GM, and I sort of let him show up. He's like, I'm showing up. What's your Call of Cthulhu investigator background? I'm an expert at the Call of Cthulhu. I'm like, oh, God. Oh. Anyway, he died.
He died. All right, so
my character, Raven McGoth.
Yeah, sorry, we haven't talked about this. Actually, have we not? We should do maybe a whole segment on special snowflakes, because we've alluded to it but not talked about it. But if your players want to create, Raven Blade, goth hero, the dark, edgy, whatever, in any setting, and they've got like a ton of special powers, you tell them no. And you tell them, and we'll give you some tools to say why.
Or you tell them yes, actually, if everyone does that. But if you're like, you're all police officers, except for this one guy.
Right.
Who's I want to be a wizard. I'm like, okay, man.
Anyway, sorry.
It was super annoying and creepy. Anyway,
so I hope
con games. They're lots of fun.
Con games.
Anyone can play.
Remember cons? I don't. I
No,
just don't
they're
remember anything
dead.
from the before times. All right, everybody. I hope this was helpful and useful. This was fun for me to talk about. Matt has already committed to doing a bunch of extra work and making this available to you. So if you want it, let us know if there's anything else you want us to talk about. We're going to be talking about Ravenloft. We're going to be reviewing Candlekeep Mysteries soon.
It's horror month.
It is the horror month of March. Look, we didn't plan this. This is the Wizards' fault for releasing a spooky season in the middle of summer. But yeah, lots of good stuff coming up. Thanks everybody for listening. Tell your friends, like, subscribe, leave a review. And stay safe out there and keep
rolling those planets in the dark tapestry.
That's right, folks.
I can't hide the rock right out.